Hi guys, today we are talking about the Stuarts. James I was the first Stuart king. He came to the throne after the death of Elizabeth. She had appointed him as her successor because he didn't have any heir. He was Mary Queen of Scots' son and was king in Scotland as James VI. James VI of Scotland, but when he became king of Great Britain, he became James I. He had been brought up as a Protestant, and he based his rule on the theory of the divine right of the king. That is, he based his reign on absolutism. He thought that he had got the divine right. He had got the right to be king directly from God, and he summoned Parliament only occasionally when he had to raise some money. He was interested in witchcraft and black magic. When he joined Scotland, England and Wales, he made just one kingdom of them. That was Great Britain, with its own Union Jack, that was a flag that united the three countries, and a common coinage. He settled in London and took under royal patronage Shakespeare's company, that became, in his honor, the King's Men. The company was called the King's Men. He signed a treaty with Spain in order to, on one side, stop the Spanish claims to the English throne that had persisted during the reign of Elizabeth I, and on the other side, he stopped the English attacks on Spanish ships, because we know that Elizabeth I had encouraged piracy through one of his main explorers, that was Sir Francis Drake. The Protestants, who were called Puritans, disapproved of the rights and bishops of the Church of England. I want to explain better. The Church of England was the Anglican Church, that had been reformed by Henry VIII. The Puritans Puritanism was a movement that was born after the reform of Henry VIII to bring the Protestant Church to a more radical one, more close to the true Protestant Church by Martin Luther, while we know that Henry VIII in fact acted only a reformation for personal reasons, that wasn't actually reformed from a ritual point of view, and was still very close to its origins, that is, to the Catholic Church. The king tried to solve the conflict between the bishops and the Puritans, and he met them at Hampton Court. But he didn't invite the Catholics to this meeting, and the result was that the Catholics were offended, and in 1605 some radical Catholics plotted to blow up the king in the House of Parliament. But this plot failed because the leaders were arrested, the plot was discovered, and hence the failure of the so-called gunpowder plot. The king encouraged the commemoration of this event as the failure of the Catholic plot. And since then, on the 5th of November, the Guy Fawkes Festival is celebrated when children have fireworks and burn effigies of Guy Fawkes on bonfires. During the reign of James I, also the Puritans were ostracized, and as we said first, and so they were forced. They decided to move from England, and in 1620, hundreds of dissenters of Puritans, called the Pilgrim Fathers, left England to go to America on board the Mayflower, the ship Mayflower, and founded New Plymouth in the American state of the modern American state of Massachusetts. Hence, the birth of the famous festival of Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is celebrated in America on the 4th Thursday of November, and it originally represented the celebration of the Pilgrim Fathers who thanked God for having survived in such harsh and difficult conditions when they arrived in America. Charles I was the second Stuart king, and he succeeded his father James I in 1625. He married the Catholic daughter of the King of France, and he wanted to reign basing his monarchy on absolutism, as his father had done, believing in the divine right of the king, that is, the king was appointed directly from God. For this reason, he summoned the parliament only occasionally. The parliament was mainly formed of the Puritans. Well, to be more precise, in that period the Parliament was divided into House of Commons and House of Lords. The House of Lords was made of hereditary members who were mainly members of the aristocracy and high members of the Church of England, and they supported the king. The House of Commons was essentially made of the Puritans and of the new middle class. Charles I summoned only occasionally the Parliament, but the Parliament forced him to sign the Petition of Right in 1628, that in some way recalled the values of the Magna Carta of 1215, in that it asserted that the king couldn't imprison without trial, couldn't imprison anyone without trial, or impose taxes without the consent of the House of Commons. But immediately after having signed it, Charles ignored this act that he had signed. And he summoned the Parliament again only in 1640 to raise some money for to fight against the Scottish rebellion, but the Parliament refused to give him money, and the Long Parliament was appointed in the same year, was re-elected in the same year, and it was essentially made of the new middle class that had replaced during Tudor age the medieval the medieval most important social classes that were the aristocracy, the landed aristocracy, and the medieval church. They were replaced in the Tudor period by landowners, city merchants, and the representatives of the professions, and they were the new middle class that formed the House of Commons. The House of Commons, this middle class, was against the power of the king, and wanted to be respected, wanted the king to respect their will, and wanted to be consulted by the king for whatever decision. And so in 1642 Charles entered the House of Commons to arrest the five most important the five leaders of the House of Commons, but they had already escaped. And in the same year he declared the war to the Parliament with his army of royalists. But who were the Puritans? We have said that the House of Commons was essentially made of Puritans, Puritani. The Puritans, Puritanism was a movement that was born, as I have told you first, after the Reformation acted by Henry VIII. And they were extreme Protestants that were not happy with the English Reformation, because it had not done enough to reform the doctrines and the structures of the Church, because in fact Henry VIII had acted this Reformation only for personal reasons. He was not so interested in a true radical reformation of the Church, of the Catholic Church, and didn't want a true Protestant Church. So the Puritans wanted to purify the national church by eliminating every trace of Catholic influence. The Puritans, and so the House of Commons, wanted a true balance of power between the king and the Parliament. And they were linked to continental Reformed theology, that is to say, the true Reformation acted by Martin Luther. As for religion, they believed that personal salvation depended on God. That is, they believed in the concept of predestination, according to which God had predestined some people to the salvation of the soul. But the man had to, a person had anyway to demonstrate, to deserve to be predestined to the salvation of the soul through hard work and getting success in this life, in the life before death, because the success in this life would reflect the salvation of the soul after death. The Bible, the reading of the Bible was very important for them, but a personal, a private reading of the Bible. So they believed in the personal interpretation of the Bible that was a guide to life. And they also encouraged private personal acts of mercy instead of a formal observation of rituals. That is, true religion for them was based on personal acts of mercy, on good actions, instead of the formal observation of rituals. That's all for today, guys. Bye.